Very good morning to you, Cathy. I mean, this is hugely significant, isn't it? I mean, considering the reign of terror under this man, the fact that he makes it to court at all.
Well, that's what happens when you have a regime change in the state that you've terrorized for all those years. The people who take over are rather keen to see justice done. But I think they would probably be better off surrendering him to the ICC and cooperating with the ICC, because when the trial happens as a result of regime change, think of Saddam Hussein's trial, then there's always the possibility of bias, or at least the appearance of bias, that the new government is simply getting the old government back. That's not to downplay at all what al-Bashir is accused of, which is horrendous.
Yes, I mean, that's already been said, isn't it, that it's been politicized, that it's unfair. I mean, if justice is not seen there on home ground, what sort of impact will that have?
Well, that is the problem with having a court far away. And it is one of the reasons why Kenya wanted the ICC to come all the way to Kenya to try Kenyatta. And it is something that the ICC considers it, but it's a cost problem. I think the other alternative is to have the trial at the ICC, but have very good and consistent communication with Sudan. There you have the problem that not many people are going to be on the internet or have other access to information, but you have to just do the job.
Is that the sort of balance that would appease people? Because Africa in particular feels that it's been unfairly targeted by the International Criminal Court, that home justice is the best option. But how would you meld the two?
I don't know whether Africa as such feels let down. I think all the henchmen who've appeared on the accused list of the ICC feel let down. But I think the people of Africa who have suffered under such dictatorships may well be feeling let down that other African heads of state haven't cooperated with the ICC. We need to be careful when it's the very people who are accused who are making the statements on behalf of Africa. So I think that the actual people who suffered would be glad to know that justice is being done. I suppose for them it may be less significant whether it's happening in Khartoum and the ICC, as long as it happens. And all I am concerned about is that we could have a Saddam Hussein kind of situation where in years to come we look back and see that as the beginning of a new illegitimate regime, because it was not that Saddam Hussein wasn't guilty of all those crimes, but the actual way the trial was run and what it was run for was simply to establish a new political regime rather than to bring justice to those who were hurt.
And in this case, whenever the military is involved, then you always know that it's going to take years to get over that. I mean, this case is important. That's happening at the moment in Khartoum. It's related to the coup, but as far as the ICC is concerned, much more pressing. I mean, this is war crimes against humanity. A lot of the dirty work being done in Darfur.
Yes. The ICC, to my knowledge, still wants to try al-Bashir. Now, Sudan's not a party to the Rome Statute, but the case of al-Bashir was referred to the ICC by the Security Council. So in theory, Sudan is also under an obligation. In fact, the ICC has already held that in its pre-trial chamber judgment. Sudan is in fact under an obligation to surrender al-Bashir to the ICC. And the ICC, okay, when it initially made the call for al-Bashir's arrest, al-Bashir was in fact the president, so clearly Sudan wasn't going to give him up. The idea then was to get other states to which al-Bashir traveled to cooperate and give him up, which they often didn't do, as South Africa is an example in point. But now it's Sudan itself that could maybe cooperate and give up al-Bashir for what could, if it's well run, be a very convincing trial about justice rather than about the new government.
I mean, several countries on signatories, for example, Israel, I mean, it doesn't stop ICC doing their work. When South Africa allowed Omar al-Bashir to come here, I mean, you can see that gestures have been made from South Africa to try and put that behind us. But what sort of message did that send out, and have we been able to address that appropriately?
I'm not sure gestures have been made to put that behind us. The South African government let al-Bashir slip out of the country through a military airport at a time when its own lawyers were standing in court before a judge, assuring the judge that al-Bashir would be kept in the country until that court case was over. And at the moment that the court said, right, we want him now in front of us, they said, oopsie, he left this morning, we didn't notice. They then, after they were condemned by the ICC itself and their own courts, formally tried to withdraw from the ICC. South Africa's own court said, hang on, you can't do that way. Parliament has to be involved. And only then did they withdraw their withdrawal. And now the whole thing's in limbo. South Africa hasn't said, yes, of course we're sticking by the ICC and it was wrong to try and withdraw. So I think we've just sort of quietly let it slide and hope nobody notices that we were part of one of the biggest political and legal embarrassments of the ICC.
We clearly need to address that, Cathy. Thank you.